Before you think about dieting, before you ask yourself whether you should train harder today than yesterday, there is a very short moment that most people completely overlook. A quiet moment happening before the day has even begun, when your body is still hovering between sleep and wakefulness. Right there, many things are already being decided for you, without you even realizing it. Most people believe belly fat exists because they lack discipline. They didn't eat clean enough. They didn't try hard enough. But if that were true, why do some people train consistently, eat properly, and still see their belly refuse to change? The answer is this: your body does not operate on motivation. It operates on signals. And the fat buried deep inside your abdomen is not something that responds well to force. It is a survival reflex. When the body feels pushed, threatened, or placed in a constant state of trying harder, it does the opposite of what you want. It holds on. It defends. It stores, especially around the vital organs deep inside. That isn't stubbornness. That is vigilance. What almost no one tells you is this: every single day, there is a very brief window when your body is listening more closely than at any other time. Not when you're sweating, not when you're fasting, but when you first wake up. In that moment, hormones are recalibrating. Energy is being released, and your body is quietly assessing whether today is safe or whether it needs to brace itself to survive. If your morning begins with rushing, heavy stimulation, or immediately forcing yourself to do too much, the biological message is very clear. Hold on to energy. And your belly fat hears that message. It doesn't care how badly you want to be lean. It only cares whether you are safe. But if the morning unfolds just a little differently, if the body is allowed to transition gently from rest into movement, if energy is used rather than compressed, then the message changes. There is no need to fight, no need to store. And when the reason for defense disappears, belly fat no longer needs to cling so tightly. What's interesting is that this change is quiet. It doesn't feel like burning fat in the moment. It doesn't create excitement, but it does something far more important. It shifts the biological direction of the entire day. Hormones soften. Blood sugar stabilizes. Hunger becomes less erratic. And the body becomes more flexible in how it uses stored energy. Many people don't fail because they do things wrong, but because they are sending the wrong signal. They believe they are taking care of their health, while the body experiences it as pressure. And pressure always leads to storage. If you've ever felt like you've tried everything and progress still feels slow, pause here for a moment. Not to blame yourself, but to ask, what am I saying to my body every morning? Am I telling it that things are okay? Or am I telling it that I have to fight through another day? Try observing that over the next few days. No need to change your diet. No need to increase training intensity. Just notice how your day begins and how your body responds. The feeling in your belly, your energy levels, your hunger, your stress. If this resonates with your experience, leave a comment. Tell me what your mornings usually look like. Many people are living in the same biological state without realizing it. And sometimes, simply understanding it correctly is enough for the body to begin letting go. There is a slightly uncomfortable but very important truth that metabolic science has made clear for a long time. The body does not change because you want it to change, but because the internal environment forces it to adapt. And that environment is not shaped only by what you eat or how much you exercise, but by the biological order of the entire day, beginning with decisions so small that you usually overlook them. In clinical practice and physiological research, one pattern appears again and again. Two people can follow almost identical diets and have similar activity levels, yet their metabolic responses are completely different. One accumulates deep fat easily, the other does not. The difference is not willpower. It lies in how the nervous system and endocrine system are guided from the very start of the day. The human body is highly sensitive to sequence. When energy is released without a safe place to be used, the system prioritizes control by locking it down. When energy is used in an orderly way, without triggering alarm, the system allows flow to continue. This is not motivational theory. This is how hormones coordinate to keep you alive. One of the most misunderstood ideas is the concept of doing more. In biology, doing more does not mean doing better. In fact, for fat tissue that is sensitive to stress, doing more at the wrong time teaches the body to defend itself more efficiently. It becomes better at holding on. By contrast, when you create a sequence of behaviors that allows the nervous system to sense a stable, predictable rhythm, without sharp disruptions, the body shifts into a different mode. That mode is not burning. It is no longer needing to store. Biologically, these are two completely different states. People who experience this shift tend to describe the same changes. Their belly no longer feels tight at the end of the day, energy doesn't crash suddenly, and hunger loses its impulsive edge. These signals are not random. They reflect a system operating with less strain and fewer emergency interventions. What's interesting is that when this system stabilizes early, the choices you make later in the day become easier, not because you are more disciplined, but because the brain is no longer making decisions from a state of biological insecurity. When the body is not worried about energy shortage, it stops pushing you to constantly compensate. Science calls this improved fuel switching. In real life, it simply feels like this. You are no longer fighting your own body. If you've ever been stuck in the cycle of trying, getting frustrated, and trying harder, the issue may not be effort at all, but the baseline signal you are sending every day, and that signal is sent quietly, repeatedly, through small actions you assume don't matter. Look at your habits not by asking, "Have I done enough?" but by asking something else. Is my body being guided, or is it being forced? These two approaches produce completely different biological outcomes, even if they look similar on the surface. If you see yourself in these words, leave a comment. Not to commit to anything, but simply to acknowledge something real. It may be time to stop fighting and start understanding how your body is responding. When that conversation changes, results often arrive quietly, but they last. There is one more scientific piece that much of the content out there deliberately ignores because it isn't sensational and it doesn't sell quick fixes. It is the reality that the body always prioritizes stability over change. In physiology, every system is designed to preserve a familiar state, even when that state isn't ideal. Visceral fat exists not because it is bad, but because, within the current biological context, it is performing its role correctly. This explains why short-term interventions so often fail. When you create a large enough shock, eating too little, training too hard, changing too fast, the body doesn't learn how to let go. It only learns how to endure more efficiently. Over time, the system adapts, and you find yourself back at the starting line with an even thicker layer of defense. Neuroscience and endocrinology show that for a system to change in a lasting way, the signal must be gentle, repeated, and consistent. Not a command signal, but a permissive one. Only when the internal environment feels stable does the body allow itself to change how energy is allocated. That is why sustainable changes often look very boring from the outside. Another critical factor that rarely gets mentioned is the role of circadian rhythm. The body does not process energy the same way at all times of day. The same behavior placed at the wrong time can produce the opposite response. This isn't a personal belief. It's the result of decades of research on central and peripheral biological clocks. When these clocks fall out of sync, the body prioritizes storage to reduce risk. In real life, this explains a familiar experience. There are periods when you aren't doing more. yet everything feels smoother. And there are times when you double your effort and progress nearly stalls. That isn't luck. It is alignment or misalignment with your biology. If you're still watching at this point, you're probably not looking for a quick tip. You're looking for an understanding deep enough that you don't have to exhaust yourself trying one thing after another. This channel exists for that reason, to talk about health in everyday language, grounded in real science, without exaggeration, fear, or force. If what we're discussing has shifted how you see your body, even slightly, subscribe to the channel. Not to follow a challenge, but to continue this conversation. Here, we're not trying to defeat the body. We're learning how to work with it. And if you want to go deeper, leave a comment. What part of your health journey has been the most exhausting? Feeling stuck? Or not understanding why you've tried so hard and still haven't arrived? Many people are carrying the same questions. When you say it out loud, you don't just help yourself, you help others realize they aren't alone. Before this video ends, I want you to hold on to one core idea, not as a promise to change your body, but as a different way of seeing yourself. Your body is not slow, it is not stubborn, and it is not working against you. All this time, it has been doing one thing correctly, protecting you in the way biology allows. When the signal is stress, rushing, and pressure, the body chooses to hold on. When the signal is stability, rhythm, and safety, the body allows release. The problem is not that you haven't tried hard enough. The problem lies in the baseline message you send every day. And that message is not created by big efforts, but by very small moments, repeated so often that you usually overlook them. When you stop seeing belly fat as an enemy and start seeing it as a biological signal, everything changes. You stop fighting, you start adjusting, and in biology, adjustment is always more powerful than force. If there is one thing you take with you after this video, let it be relief. You do not need to fight your body to change it. You only need to learn how to speak to it more clearly. When that conversation shifts, results often come slowly, but they come real.